You wake before sunrise. The air is cold enough to sting your skin. Ash from last night's fire still glows beneath a blanket of grey dust. Around you, sleeping bodies slowly begin to move. A child presses closer to a parent for warmth. Someone quietly feeds dry grass into the embers until orange light returns. No alarms ring, no clocks exist. Yet every person wakes with remarkable precision, guided by rhythms that your own body still carries today. For almost all of human history, this was morning, not in cities, not on farms, but in small bands of hunter-gatherers who lived across forests, grasslands, coastlines, and deserts nearly 50,000 years ago. Modern life often feels disconnected from nature. Artificial light extends the day, refrigerators hide the seasons, walls separate neighbors. Yet your brain, your sleep, your fears, and even your social instincts were shaped long before any of those things existed. If you suddenly found yourself living among one of these early families, almost everything would feel unfamiliar, and yet your own body would recognize it. The first sounds are not conversation, they are birds. Wind through grass, the crackling fire. For hunter-gatherers, silence was never empty. Every sound carried information. A distant animal call might reveal prey. Sudden silence among birds could warn of a predator. Long before written language, your ancestors developed extraordinary environmental awareness simply because survival demanded it. Researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer groups, including Richard Lee's work with the Juhwanzi people of southern Africa, found that daily life often depended less on physical strength than on careful observation, cooperation, and accumulated knowledge passed through generations. Knowledge was survival. Children learned almost constantly without classrooms. Nobody announced lessons. Instead, they watched. A young child noticed which berries adults ignored. They copied how firewood was stacked. They learned animal tracks simply by walking beside experienced hunters. Could your own childhood have looked more like this than a modern classroom? Evidence suggests it probably did. Anthropologist James Sussman has described hunter-gatherer societies as environments where learning emerged naturally through participation rather than formal instruction. Every activity became education because every activity mattered. Breakfast was never guaranteed. There was no pantry waiting nearby, no supermarket, no delivery service. Food depended on yesterday's success and today's opportunity. Some mornings began with leftover roasted roots or dried meat preserved beside the fire. Other mornings began with nothing. Contrary to popular imagination, this uncertainty did not always produce constant starvation. Richard Lee's famous research showed that many hunter-gatherer societies actually enjoyed varied diets and often worked fewer hours obtaining food than many people work today. The challenge was unpredictability, not necessarily scarcity. Imagine walking several hours simply to discover that fruit trees had already been stripped by animals. Imagine tracking an antelope since sunrise only to lose its trail before noon. Failure happened often, success was shared. This sharing formed one of humanity's greatest evolutionary advantages. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner documented extensive food-sharing networks among hunter-gatherers, where successful hunters distributed meat widely throughout the group. At first glance, this seems inefficient. Why give away hard-earned food? Because tomorrow, someone else might feed you. Reciprocity simply means helping others today, because they may help you later. It became a form of insurance long before money existed. Your ancestors survived not because individuals were stronger than nature. They survived because groups became stronger than uncertainty. The morning slowly unfolds. Some adults leave to gather edible plants. Others follow animal tracks disappearing into the distance. Older children help carry tools. Younger children remain close to camp under the watchful eyes of multiple adults. This surprises many people. Childcare rarely belonged to only two parents. Evolution favored cooperative breeding, a scientific term meaning many adults helped raise children together. Grandparents, older siblings, aunts, uncles, and unrelated adults all contributed. Human childhood is unusually long compared with most mammals. That long childhood allowed the brain to develop extraordinary complexity. But it only worked because entire communities invested in raising children. Does modern parenting sometimes feel harder because fewer adults share the responsibility? Many anthropologists believe so. As the sun climbs higher, movement continues. Nobody sits behind desks. Nobody spends 8 hours inside climate-controlled buildings. Walking is constant. Squatting replaces chairs. Climbing, lifting, carrying, balancing, reaching, throwing. Exercise does not exist as a separate activity. Movement is simply life. Research in evolutionary medicine suggests many modern musculoskeletal problems arise partly because bodies evolved expecting diverse daily movement rather than prolonged sitting. Your skeleton still remembers, even your feet remember. Most hunter-gatherers spent their lives barefoot or wearing minimal footwear, allowing foot muscles to strengthen naturally across uneven landscapes. Every hill became training, every fallen log became balance practice. Every hunt became endurance exercise. By afternoon, successful gatherers returned carrying roots, nuts, berries, mushrooms, or honey depending on local ecosystems. Honey was especially valuable. It provided concentrated energy through natural sugars. Finding wild honey required remarkable skill. Sometimes hunters followed honey guide birds, particularly in parts of Africa. These birds led humans toward bee nests, while humans opened the nests, allowing both species to benefit. Scientists call this mutualism. It simply means two different species helping one another survive. Nature was filled with partnerships. Humans were only one participant. Meanwhile, skilled artisans shape stone. This is slower than most people imagine. Making an effective stone blade requires understanding fracture mechanics, the physics of how rocks break along predictable lines. One mistake can ruin hours of work. Archaeological discoveries from sites like Blombos Cave in South Africa reveal remarkable craftsmanship dating back tens of thousands of years, including carefully shaped tools, engraved ochre, and symbolic objects that demonstrate creativity extending far beyond simple survival. These people were not primitive, they were highly intelligent humans solving different problems. As afternoon becomes evening, hunters finally return. Sometimes carrying meat, sometimes empty-handed. Nobody knows the outcome until they appear. This uncertainty shaped emotional resilience. Disappointment could not end the day. Tomorrow required trying again. The fire grows brighter. Cooking begins. The discovery and control of fire transformed human evolution long before 50,000 years ago. Cooking softens food, kills many harmful microbes, releases more calories, reduces chewing time. Some scientists, including Richard Wrangham, argue that cooking fundamentally changed human biology by increasing the energy available for growing larger brains. Your dinner tonight still depends on that ancient innovation. As darkness spreads, conversation begins. Stories become entertainment, education, history, warning, identity. Without books, stories carried everything worth remembering. Which valleys contained dangerous predators? Which plants cured illness? Which ancestors showed courage? Which mistakes should never be repeated? Every storyteller protected the future. Modern neuroscience increasingly recognizes storytelling as one of the brain's most powerful learning tools, because narratives organize information into memorable patterns. Your love of stories did not begin with television. It began around fires. Children laugh, adults tease one another. Music appears. Simple rhythms emerge from hands striking wood, stone, or stretched hides. Archaeological evidence suggests musical instruments existed at least 40,000 years ago, including bone flutes discovered in Europe. Music strengthened social bonds, coordinated movement, reduced stress, created shared emotional experiences. Your brain still releases rewarding chemicals when music connects you with others. That response is ancient. Night falls completely. Darkness today is difficult to imagine. Without electric lighting, stars dominate the sky. The Milky Way stretches overhead with astonishing clarity. Constellations become navigation tools, calendars, stories. The heavens are not decoration, they are practical knowledge. Sleep comes gradually. Research on hunter-gatherer sleep patterns suggests people rarely slept in one uninterrupted block. Some remained awake while others rested, naturally creating overlapping periods of vigilance that reduced vulnerability to predators and unexpected dangers. Nobody assigned night shifts. The pattern emerged naturally. Even your tendency to wake briefly during the night may reflect echoes of this ancient rhythm. Danger never disappeared. Large predators still existed. Infections remained dangerous. Injuries could become fatal. Infant mortality was high. Life expectancy at birth appears low in prehistoric populations, largely because many children died young. However, individuals who survived childhood often lived well into their 60s or beyond. Life was harsh, but it was not constantly miserable. This distinction matters. Popular imagination often portrays prehistoric life as endless suffering. Evidence paints a more balanced picture. Hunter-gatherers experienced hardship. They also experienced leisure, friendship, humor, affection, curiosity, love. Exactly the emotions you experience today. The archaeological record cannot preserve laughter. It rarely preserves kindness. Yet human biology strongly suggests both were essential for maintaining cooperation across thousands of generations. Would you miss your phone? Almost certainly. Would you miss modern medicine? Immediately. Would you miss hot showers? Without question. But after several months, other absences might begin to surprise you. Constant notifications, traffic, artificial lighting, rigid schedules, chronic isolation. Your nervous system evolved for small communities where faces became familiar. Movement filled every day, natural light governed time, and survival depended more on cooperation than competition. Modern civilization has transformed nearly every aspect of daily life in only a tiny fraction of humanity's existence. Evolution has not fully caught up. Your cravings, your anxieties, your social needs, your attention, your sleep. Many still carry traces of a world that disappeared only yesterday on the evolutionary timescale. This does not mean prehistoric life was better. It was simply different, far more uncertain, far more dangerous. Yet in some unexpected ways, more aligned with the biology your ancestors spent hundreds of thousands of years developing. Tomorrow morning, you will probably wake to an alarm instead of birds. You may reach for a phone instead of feeding a fire. Breakfast will likely wait inside a refrigerator instead of somewhere beyond the horizon. But beneath every modern habit lives an ancient human whose instincts were shaped around a campfire long before the first cities, the first farms, or the first written words. You wake before sunrise. Only now, those ancient echoes hidden inside your own mind carry an entirely new meaning.